This is the If More Let's Divide podcast.
Yo, Charlie guys, what's happening? Welcome to the If More Let's Divide podcast season 6, and it's another episode. It's another spicy episode, you know. And this guest was actually recommended by one of our, two or three. I've had 3 people come to me, like send DMs to the Instagram, and they go like, Charlie, you have to have it because she's doing some dope stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. And I checked out her stuff, went on, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. We need her on an episode.
Authentic.
Fred, what do you know about her?
I'm not saying she be fine girl, dark skinned chick. She was dabbling in fashion at some point.
Dope.
She's always been a creative of sorts. I think she's always been in the social spaces. And it's been interesting to watch her evolution from a distance. I haven't spoken to her in years, but I've been an admirer from a distance. So I think the audience are gonna have a blast
Dope.
with the knowledge she's gonna share.
And before this episode starts, shouts to Atunua Digital for partnering with us.
Yep.
To power this season, especially. Shouts to all the guys at Atunua Digital. Salute. And also, if you are not following us through and through, you have to follow us through and through everywhere. YouTube, the Instagrams, the X's, and tell your uncle to tell their grandmothers about what we are doing here, the If More Let's Divide podcast. And without
Sir, shout out to Atunua.
shout out to Atunua.
sure.
Without further ado, help us welcome Essie Bartels from the CEO, the owner of Essie Spice.
Yes, sir. I'm a good cheerleader. You walk in. I'm a good cheerleader.
Okay, how should I call you?
Essie.
Essie.
Or s04.
S04. That's a full Essie. Where are you from?
My dad is from Aguna Swedro, and my mom is from KJB.
KJB.
It used to be Volta region. It's now
yeah.
Oti region.
Oti region. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's an Ashanti town that migrated to Volta region.
But the Bartels sounds...
It's unfortunately Dutch. Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
you know our history.
Yeah.
But it's from Sekendi Shama, my father's father.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice. Do you get people talking about your skin, your complexion?
Now they do.
Yeah.
Now they do.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like...
Yeah, even in Ghana, it wasn't always, you know how it was.
Yeah.
Like growing up
Yeah.
in the 80s and 90s, kids will, even your friends will laugh at you, blackie, big lips, all the things.
80s.
Oh, yeah, they would
You
tease.
weren't born in the 80s.
I was born in the 80s. Stop. Don't age me, but I'm not that young. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I would get teased about everything from my skin to my skinny legs to nobody thought I would get thighs, but here we are.
Yeah, now we're here. Thick.
To the dark skin
Yeah.
all the time. And now people probably take my lips to the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Took you a minute. but
Yeah, it took you a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Dope. I mean, and I'm reading about you online. You grew up in the States at a point you went to the States at 8.
No, 18.
18. Sorry, yeah, you went to
18.
this.
I grew up here.
Oh, you grew up here. And I could imagine if you were facing that here in Ghana from your black friends. I can imagine what you also went through there. Was there ever a time that you were so conscious of how you looked because of the space that you were in?
So, it was a good and a bad thing. The uni that I went to is a very small one with a lot of white people. And so, maybe they were overcorrecting, so it was very covert. It wasn't shown that they were very, racist or anything like that. I didn't have teachers, treat me differently or anything like that. Thank God.
Yeah.
It was after that. It was after school that I could feel the racism at work and things like that, but not during college. But also, I think part of it was we had a very, very tight network of Black kids. And so we always used to do things together. So, you know, if you don't interact too much, then you won't get anything coming to you anyway. You kind of like isolate yourself with your people. We had like Nigerians, Ghanaians, Cape Verdeans, not a lot, but we were a very tight-knit group.
Dope.
That helped a lot in that area.
Fred.
Hi, Fred.
How are you?
I'm great.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
How have
a
you
long
been?
time. I've been great.
Yeah?
I mean, ups and downs like everyone
Yeah.
else.
I didn't even realize you had this thing with the uni thing, but just to catch up on the conversation from there, maybe this might sound controversial, but have you experienced any kind of prejudice, discrimination, looking down on your features from white people more as opposed to, because it sounds to me like you felt that from your own kin, Ghanaians and...
More. Definitely more.
And it's a strange thing. I know, I'm asking you this because you're living in your skin and you've had to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm just trying to understand that relationship where I hear racism, but every time I turn around, it's Black people pointing out features of other Black people, and I'm just trying to understand what your perspective is because you have a unique experience.
So the unfortunate thing is racism has done a really bad number on us because it started with them just saying Black is bad. Then it became, okay, so some of us are sleeping with Black people and we're having what they used to call mulatto. And so then those are better than this. And so then they started doing that, right? If your nose was wider, if your hair was kinkier. So they started to create that divide amongst ourselves. And then the people that were closer to white were getting better jobs, better, you know, relationships, better everything. So then now in between us, they have removed themselves and are doing their thing. But in between us, it's like, no, but I'm better than you because I don't have a wide nose and I don't have big lips and big cheeks and all that. And so that stayed. And so that definitely happens a lot more in the US where it's our own people talking down on our features. And you see it all the time on social. You post something and then the minute you go in the comments, it's other Black people talking about the person's physical features, not even white people. But then in terms of, to me directly, I haven't had as much either white or Black people come up to me and talk to me anyway. Maybe because they know they can't talk to me anyway in the first place. Yeah. Because I guess the way I carry myself. But that's different from when I was growing up. Growing up, you're a kid, so kids don't give, you know, a rat's ass about your
cuss,
feelings.
by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'll say whatever they want to say. So that's the difference. Like growing up, I guess I was in professional situations or like in college where if somebody said something about you, you could have them, you know, reprimanded. So I guess even if they felt it, they definitely didn't say it to me.
I mean, this is maybe a far-reaching question, but do you think there's something particularly that Black people need to be aware of or to get past to stop discriminating against each other and looking down on each other because of our looks and features? Do you think it's something missing? Is this some form of education or what is it?
Oh, this is what you just said. If I start now, we won't finish. It goes from everything, from our bodies being on display for caricature. You know, the lady that was brought from South Africa with the big hips on the streets making money off, and now that's what everybody wants. So it's like every genetic material on this planet came from Black people, from the Khoisan people that have their eyes that look like Asians. If they think, you know, where did they get it from? They got it from there. Blonde hair, we have it. Black hair, we have it. Red hair, we have it. every genetic mutation is from from Eve. So we have to remember who we are. If somebody is looking at you and laughing at you that you are black, okay, you came from me, so you are laughing at yourself. It just does. It's like insulting your mother. Where did you come from? From her. So we have to understand who we are as people, what we possess. Like, melanin is the most expensive. It's more expensive than gold. Why are you stressed about people that are burning as soon as they get outside?
Yeah.
You know, people are bleaching. I know people that are bleaching and they cannot go outside without like tons and tons of sunscreen and, you know, covering their body or umbrellas. Me, if I want, I can lie on the streets now with nothing and I'll be fine with Vaseline. You know what I mean? So just embrace, and it's education, you know? It's knowing, it's kind of like if somebody gives you, I don't know, gold and it's like, oh, it's just some rocks, just put it here. But you don't know that it's gold, right? And you're sitting on it. And people are like, oh, I have 5,000 cedis. And you want that 5,000 cedis, you want to give them, let's say, 3 or 4 bars of gold because you don't know the value.
Oh,
so
understood.
if you know the value, you would never exchange that.
Have you always been like this though? Because for me, it took a whole lot of work to embrace my birthmark. Right, I have a large birthmark here.
Okay.
When I was in school,
You should have shown her.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a very, very large and black, very
darker than you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I at
Must
a
be
point,
beautiful.
when I was young, I was so insecure about it. Tried so many times to, you know, clean it off and all that. My grandma was like, it won't do anything.
It's not
So
going anywhere.
Yeah. So, but I think from secondary school, I started to embrace certain things about me, like so many things about me. Has it always been like this for you? Yeah, I'm black and proud. Or there was a point where you were also thinking twice?
Oh, I mean, definitely. When I was a kid, you know, when you're a kid, you're very impressionable around, because, you know, especially when there's a boy that likes you and then he likes the girl that's light, and you're like, oh, is it because of that? And for a lot of times, I felt that way. However, thank Jesus for my parents. And I will say this, anywhere I'm asked, your parents are so instrumental to how you see yourself. My mother showed me many, many, many examples of people that had bleached themselves. And she's like, this is what you want to be when you grow up? Like, we had this lady that we knew that would never come out without makeup. Never come out without makeup. I have makeup that I've had for like a year and a half, and people are like, oh, you need to change your makeup all the time. Because I don't use makeup that much, so it lasts me so long. And people are using makeup in 3 months because every single minute they step out of their house, their face has to be caked. I don't have that. They need like the layers.
Yeah, layers.
Because if you really look, there's like all these patches, right?
Yeah.
And my dad adored, still does. I mean, I would wake up and he's like, you're the most beautiful girl in the world. You're my sun, you're my stars. All of that, it's so important for a girl, for a boy, for a child, growing up to know that the people that you look up to the most think you're incredible. Yeah, people are gonna come from outside and try to poke holes in it, but if that is solid, it's fine. So my parents were solid with that. Not with everything else, but with that, 100.
What one thing, or what was the last thing that you did that was so daring in a way that, you know, made you feel, yeah, I went through that and I'm here now and I'm a G?
Daring. I do so many things.
What was
that
the
are
the last thing that you
Oh
can
my
remember?
goodness. Well, now I'm blanking out because there's so many. Daring. I haven't skydived yet, but it's on the list, and also bungee jumping. But I'm very like, if I feel like I need to go somewhere, I just go. And I've been very blessed with a few friends that when I say, can we go, we go. But yeah, I've done rafting down a waterfall,
Yeesh.
you know, jumped off cliffs.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, okay.
I feel like for me, it's like, you know, we die once, but we live every day.
Yeah.
People always say, you live once. No, you're living every day. You're gonna die once, and then that's it.
That's
so, as much as possible, you know, you try to fill those every days with, you know, things that are so memorable. And this was so key, especially in the pandemic. I'm usually the one that's like, guys, can we go to Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
Guys, can we go to, you know, Utah? Let's, it's just a weekend. Let's just, you know. And my friends are always like, oh no, I don't have money. I don't have time, da, da, da. And then the pandemic happened. But we had just come back from Thailand.
Oh, wow, chilling.
And my best friend will call me every day. Thank you, literally in tears. Thank you for making us go.
Yeah.
All we have is our memories. I have nothing, you know. And this is when we didn't have a cure. This is when we didn't know when we would be
Yeah.
out of
Oh, yeah.
lockdown. We didn't even know what was happening. It was just like, stay home.
Yeah.
Something is happening.
Crazy.
And we don't know.
Yeah.
So that really switched a lot of how I think about things. If there's something I feel about a person, I tell them. You know, if there's something I want to do for somebody, as much as I can, I will do it for them because we really don't know what's gonna happen. So,
Spice. You are now known for your business.
right. That's
Essie
what I
Spice.
like to be known for.
Yeah. And I've gone through your Instagram and all that, and you're really killing it. Like, you know, there was a post where you were packing things, like, you know, somewhere outside. I think in a warehouse or something. Was that here?
No,
Where was that?
in Jersey. That's where my warehouse is.
Oh, okay. So your warehouse is in Jersey,
Yes.
and that means you are everywhere.
I'm
Ghana,
in the US.
The US. Okay.
Yeah, I source the spices from Ghana, and everything is made in the US. Yes.
Why?
Well, when I started Essie Spice, I was already in the US. And I saw the market of what I thought would do great in the US. And I found the production, warehousing, you know, equipment, all of that in the US. Because I was there, I was living there.
Yeah. You were based there.
Now, people have asked me this question all the time. Why won't you make it in Ghana? Why don't you do it in Ghana? There's a couple of things. So the infrastructure is not here. And this is my thing. If I'm going to do something in Ghana for Ghanaians, my people, I'm not going to shortchange them what I would do, the same standards that I would use in America because, oh, I'm making it for Ghanaians, so it doesn't, you know, that thing that they do. And just do it. Like, I wasn't even making sauces in my kitchen in America. Why would I make it here in Ghana?
Yeah.
You know, I would have to have a facility. I would have to have equipment. I would have to have, you know, direct access to produce. And for me, I think one of the biggest issues that I find in Ghana is today you'll find pepper in, you know, 300 pounds today. Tomorrow they'll say, "Ebi niho, we don't have it." And for me and my business, that's detrimental. That's like a collapse.
Yeah.
Because if I have a big order for, I don't know, 200, 500, 1,000 cases, and they're waiting, they only give you a certain window as to how long they'll wait. And then if the farmers are saying, oh, what am I going to do? Right. So that's that. And then the other thing that, you know, people are like, oh, no, we have lawyers, the law works, is IP, intellectual property. And I actually have friends here who are in manufacturing that are telling me they want to come and manufacture in the US because people are stealing their IP here. A friend of mine makes baby food in Ghana. She's doing so well. And I went to Holy Child with her. And she's
Oh,
like,
you went to Holy Child?
I did. I did go to Holy Child. The best. On the coast. And
We'll get into that.
she complains a lot. The gay girls will come for me. I'm ready for them. She complains about them, you know, this person will steal this recipe. The next minute they've left. They are making another cereal, baby food. She's now trying to figure out how she can do it so that it's one person takes care of this but doesn't interact with this. But how difficult it is to separate the people that are working in your factory. I never have to worry about that. I pay a factory a fee per day. I give them my recipe per FDA standards. We sign a contract and an NDA and all of that. And they make my recipe per instructions. When they're done, they finish, they put it in the bottles, they put it on pallets, they let me know the date it was manufactured, day it's expired, everything is done. If I ever find out that they're making anything for themselves or anybody else, anywhere similar with my name, with my design, with whatever, immediately
with your mix, with even your mix.
Immediately sue.
Yeah.
And it's done.
Yeah, it works.
Like in Ghana, tell me how easy that will be. Just tell me how easy that will be.
It's not. In Ghana, the law drags. So you're 100% right. It will eventually work, but you would have to be willing to... I know people don't like me saying this, but I say to the benefit of majority of us who are either within or without that want to set up here, bribery is a part of the system.
Yeah.
So they say when you go to Rome, you do as the Romans do, but you have to be prepared to pay your way through and, you know, fight off, because your opponents are going to go bribe and they're going to frustrate you with the bribery. But so long as you're on the right side and you get the right lawyers and you're willing to go for the long haul fight, the law eventually works. That I can attest to.
See, that's the thing. Like, what if the person that is stealing my recipe has more money to bribe somebody, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's corruption in the US, no two ways about it. And I'm sure you guys are seeing it play out everywhere now. You know, what we call bribery, they call lobbying. It's still the same. It's just under a different umbrella. But in terms of like, you know, having recourse and going to a court with a case like this is very straightforward. It's very straightforward. You know, this is my recipe. I gave it to this person. They were making it for me, but now they have a similar product. It looks like this. You know, you show it, and then that's it.
And I mean, so just to add to that, in Ghana, the problem here is scale. Right? So if you have some three-corner people stealing, and they're just, it's principle. Don't steal my recipe, don't steal my logo. And it's harder to, even when you win, what are you going to get back?
Exactly, what am I getting back?
And there's no system to really make them pay.
Make you, so it's like, the most that will happen is they'll go to jail. And then that's it. They're not... You know, meanwhile, my thing has been compromised. Did they keep it to themselves? Did they sell it to somebody? Those things are the only reasons why it's still a bit difficult for me to produce here. Also, every country makes it a little bit difficult for you to ship in finished product as opposed to ingredients or finished material. So one of the things that I really want to work on more this year and next is having a facility that will process my spices myself, as opposed to having some other people process it for me.
What were you doing before you started this full time?
So I was a global strategist for a lot of different companies and global in procurement. So I started at Hitachi after college. I started at Hitachi, the Japanese company. I worked on wastewater systems, and when they built like huge dams and things, I was helping them get the machinery there, figure it out, bring it back, all of that. And then from there, I went to Panasonic.
Hitachi to Panasonic.
Yeah, I know.
Rivals.
It just pretty intensive resume.
I guess. I work hard.
And so why did you
Why did I go from
Ditch
that?
But she
all
didn't
of
even
it.
finish. Panasonic.
Well,
then
Yeah,
you went where?
Panasonic. Yeah, okay.
Right. So Panasonic, I did. Panasonic was a lot of the LEDs at stadiums. So the Charlotte Motor Speedway. I don't know if it's changed now, but they had the biggest LED in a sports arena. Is the raceway. I did that.
Oh, wow.
And then they did the Red Bull Stadium as well. So I did those two big projects, and then I left that to Unilever. And Unilever was great. Unilever was is a EU company, so they have a lot of the EU,
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Former owner of Nigeria, according to
Right.
Bernard.
According to Berna, it was a great company in terms of flexibility. They were doing work from home even before people knew what work from home. We used to call it agile working. So I loved working there. But they sent me to South Africa. I did a whole bunch of projects, and I was supposed to get a promotion. And then when I came back, it was crickets. And I'm like, okay, bye.
Deuces.
And then I went to ADP,
Oh, wow.
a payment company. And that was the worst company that I worked for. And I'm sure if they hear it, they'll be like, but it's fine. It's the truth. I wasn't trained well. They were very rigid, and especially because I was coming from Unilever, where that was very relaxed.
Yeah.
You didn't need to, work, the crazy hours. Nobody was checking in when you clocked in, So they let me go. And so when they let me go, I had been doing Essie Spice on the side for a very long time.
Okay.
For I would say 3 years. That's like a side gig. I never really thought it would do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you knew me then. It was just like I make sauces and people like it and they buy it.
Yeah.
And I'm making some money on the side, but
Yeah.
I'm making my 6 figures in corporate and I'm loving it and I'm happy. And so when they let me go, I was like, should I just go back to, because I remember at the time, Mondelez, they make like cookies and all of that, and then L'Oreal had sent me emails that, do I want to interview? And so I could have just, gone back, but I was like, let me give it 6 months and just see, if it doesn't work out, then I'll just go. So 6 months at home, my dad was like, don't come and ask me for any money. I'm like, don't worry, I won't. But I did eventually. And then in the 6 months, this is the thing, when you just shift your focus a little bit, I feel like the universe kind of shifts with you as well. Because in those 6 months that I wasn't working full time, that was when I was able to pick up meetings that people needed to meet with me with the stores. Because the stores, they're meeting during the week, the same time you're also going to work is when they're meeting. They're not going to meet you on weekends.
Yeah.
So that's when I met with them. Somebody invited me to a dinner, an after party dinner, and that's when I met the editors of Time and Bon Appetit. And that wouldn't have happened if I was working full time, because when I was working full time, I'm not going out on a weekday so that I can, no. So everything kind of aligned at that time, and I asked God to show me if this was what I was supposed to do. So in the 6 months, literally, I got into Whole Foods. I was featured in Time. I was featured in Forbes.
Forbes, yeah.
And then
All within 6 months.
all within 6 months. It just,
How big was Essie Spice then?
it wasn't even big. I don't think we were even making 6 figures at that time.
So how did you get all of these press?
I kid you not, I was just myself. And I know when I say this, people think I'm reducing it to something less than it is. I was very authentic. I told my story over and over again. The other thing that I did was, even though I didn't pay influencers and do a lot of marketing, I put a lot of money, especially at that time when I didn't have as much money. I put a lot of money on my labels, on my website, and on my photography. And so when people saw the brand, they thought it was bigger than it was
Right.
because of that. But it wasn't. It just looked great. And so people would come up to me and they would like, oh my God, your label, who designed it? My label design cost me close to $3,000. This is, 2015, 16. So imagine how stressful that was for me to do that. The label, the website cost me another 2,000.
Why though? Because you could get the same for less.
But it won't look like the way it did. And I would tell people would ask me all the time, oh, you don't need to spend that much on photography. I'm like, I'm spending the money on how it looks and how it presents. This way, I don't have to go and beg somebody to come and look at it. The people that were spending maybe $200 or $500 on photography were not getting the press because it looked like $200.
Of course.
It looked like $500. You see what I mean? But I wasn't paying anybody $5,000 to go and beg them to come and talk about Essie Spice.
Yeah.
So it's like, where are you going to put the money? Are you going to put the money on the brand or are you going to pay somebody to come and talk about something that looks mediocre?
Yeah.
But if it looks great, you don't even need to pay people. People will come and start talking about it, which is what started happening for me. The lady that took me, people were shocked. The day we went for that dinner was the first day we met. I met her on social media because I read her story. She's from Rwanda. She's a refugee survivor. And I literally said, I'm in awe of what happened to you and how you've been able to rise. She's been on Oprah and everything. This is an incredible woman. So that's what I said on her page. She then comes to my page to see who I am, finds out who I am, says, what are you doing this weekend? Come hang out with me. I kid you not. I go with her. She has this event. So she couldn't get me into the event, but they had an after party. Every editor, all the editors were there. And then they're like, oh, so how did you meet her? She's like, we're meeting now. It's our first time. Wow. Everyone is shocked. But that's how you meet people who immediately see how much you've sacrificed and what you've put in. And so they want to help you because they see it. So that's my formula. There's no secret.
I didn't even realize you were in Forbes and all this other.
Oh.
How did I lose your number again?
Google me.
So you met the editors and they found an interest in your work.
Yes.
And then they decided to.
Yeah, they all said, so she was like, you have to meet Essie, she's doing this, And she's like, Essie, you have to send them, the sauces, you have to do that. So I sent it to her. I sent it to Bon Appetit, I sent it to Time, Cooking Channel, I sent it to, was it, one more, Saveur. But then Saveur didn't get back to me till much later. I don't know. But yeah, and that's...
Yeah. So, yes, you did mention at some point that people say you make it sound easy and all of that. But I want to peel a little further because what I know of you is beyond all the, there's a badass corporate person there.
Sure.
You've honed your skills, you've cut your teeth in some of the most competitive spaces any of us could have imagined to find themselves, and you've excelled there. You didn't just go and you actually excelled. And I want you to maybe speak on a little bit of that trait, that competency, and what led you to performing on that level.
Well, so with all my corporate experience, it's been mostly a lot of negotiations, a lot of research, and working with numbers, a lot of operations. So a lot of the projects I would have to either streamline or reduce costs, or I'm the one that's looking at different people. For example, for Unilever, I used to do a lot of the research. So before Unilever would release a product, we can't independently verify that it does X, Y, and Z. So we'll go to Mutumbo, we'll go to Fred, we'll go to all these people, and then you guys have your companies, and you will test it, and then you will bring your findings. so that we don't only say, oh, when we tested it, we'll say, oh, and then when Mutumbo tested it, and then when Fred tested it.
I feel like, when you say everyone thinks it comes easy to you and all of that, and it just happened, it gives off one vibe, but I know underneath all of that is a badass corporate experience, competence. You've been in different spaces that you've excelled and done extremely well. And that skill set is what I kind of want you to speak on, and maybe what drove you to that level of performance.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So even before corporate, when I think back, my mom is a badass businesswoman. She has a number of shops in Makola that she's had for even
Those
before I
folks are
was
rich.
born. No, please.
They are rich.
Every time people hear,
Hey, don't go there.
Raw cash.
every time people hear Makola, they just assume the person is rich. She's
No,
okay.
it's
She gets by.
You can't be in Mokola and get by with multiple stores. So don't kid us.
Because there's different things that she sells. That's why. So because of that, I learned watching her do that and run that. And then she also has an export business where she exports. This is before, people are now packaging food so well. Like, I remember we used to be the ones cleaning wele. Like me, I was cleaning the wele. I would pound the palm nut, and we would take it out, take the seeds out, put it in. This was before, this is like 30 plus years ago. We would put it in little bags, freeze it, they'll weigh it, and then take it to the African shop. So that level of like industrial, like industry was in me already. And then of course I decided to work in corporate. And then in corporate, a lot of the things I was doing was negotiations and streamlining processes with operations, whether it was services or product. So I was explaining earlier how, especially like, for example, at Unilever, I would interview the companies that would do independent testings on our products. So, based on what everybody's bringing, I would know, okay, Mutumbo says he can do this in this amount of time, but Fred says he can do it in this amount of time. This is what the scientists are looking for. And, then they tell me their parameters, and then I see the best for the money, the best for time, all of that. So you hone that, and you learn how to, bring all of that into what it is I'm doing for Essie Spice.
Yeah.
So who are my ingredient sourcing, the factories that I use, the bottles, the caps, pricing, and then shipping, delivery.
Wow.
I have pretty much everything I'm doing. I've had the experience prior to that. And so, yeah, very grateful. It does, again, as he said, it doesn't come from nowhere. You definitely have to rely on your expertise from before, or you have to hire people to help you do that.
Yeah, did you, so you just mentioned your mom, how your mom, by working with her, helping her with her business, has also helped you in a way.
1000%.
How did New Jersey, right? That's where you grew up.
Yeah.
How did New Jersey also influence you with the things that you are doing now?
New Jersey is very boring. There's nothing there. It's literally a very quiet place. We like it because it's very close to the city, to New York, and so
cheaper.
And cheaper.
Yeah.
I mean, what you would get in New Jersey for like a studio, you would barely get, like, you could barely stretch that in New York, with no green, no grass, no trees, no nothing. So
concrete jungle.
Concrete, exactly. But all the action is in New York, so you want to be close enough, but not in it. At least for me.
Yeah.
And so that's what my mom and us, the family, decided, and we decided to stay in Jersey. But yeah, it's close enough for me to get to New York, to the airports. So for whatever work I need, whether it's for leisure or for work, it's it's the hub. And a lot of my sales and business started in New York. The very first store that allowed me to sell in their store was in New York.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So how many stores are you in now?
We're now in about 100 stores.
What?
Yeah. But that's not a lot. It's not a lot.
100
Beast.
isn't.
No.
Hey, Charlie. Hey,
100
friend.
stores
Oh
is
yeah,
not a
she
lot.
be beast.
I mean,
Really?
we could easily be in 2,000, 3,000 stores. So 100 stores, like one chain sometimes has like 1,000 outlets. So
Okay, so you're talking about like chain.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say, for example, I'm trying to answer. So it could be Whole Foods, but
Right.
you are in Whole Foods, New
Right,
York,
right,
Whole Foods,
right,
oh,
right.
okay,
Connecticut,
okay,
New York, New
cool.
Jersey, exactly.
Why spice? Like, why spice? Because it could have been kente from Ghana. It could have been, all of these
Anything,
things.
right.
So why spice?
So I've been cooking since I was 6. And, when you're the first daughter, first granddaughter, first all of the things, you can't escape the kitchen, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And which is why I was also in my mom's business. Everything she was doing, Nana, your way, they call me Nana. Nana, yeah, so your way. So I knew how to cook at a very, very young age. And my dad and I would, sometimes he would be like, no, I don't want you to cook for me. I want Nana to cook. And I was like 11, 12. And I would make him his dinners. And he'd be like, this one, I would give you a 6. And then there'll be days that he's like, wow, this one is 100 over 10. Like that's my dad. And that also gives a child a lot of power, a lot of strength, So I always had that at the back of my mind because I knew if it was bad, he wouldn't lie to me. And if it was great, he would tell me as well. So that kind of fueled me to feel like, oh, I can do stuff. And my friends will come over almost you can call all the kids I went to JSS with after school. They'll come and I'll make them something. It could be eggs, it could be chicken, it could be whatever. But it will always have a special touch to it. I think the thing with spices, how it kind of started was my mom would always buy this spice rack from London. And it would always have like maybe 20 to 30 different spices. And this woman would only use like 4. Thyme, rosemary, cinnamon, maybe cloves, the usual. Everything else will sit there and expire. She'll throw it away. Then she'll go and buy a new thing and use just the 4 or 5 again. Yeah. So I'm like, what about these others? Like, what is she? The marjoram, the sumac, all these other ones. Like, what is she using them for? So I'll just like try stuff. And then when I tried it, my dad will eat something. He's like, oh, what did you do? Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, it's something, I tried it with this spice. I was like, and your spice, biani, like that Ghana thing. Yeah. This one, you don't add spice, So I'm like, I get it, but I'm not making your thing. I'm making my thing. And daddy likes it, so that's all I need, right? So it kind of started with that. And then I would watch a lot of Travel Channel, Discovery Channel, and I would watch a lot about, things people were eating in other countries. Yeah. So I would always be excited to learn about food from other places. It was like my thing. And so as soon as I left Ghana fully, because we would go to summers in London, but most of it was with our parents and uncles, because my uncles lived there. But once I left Ghana and I went to uni and then I started traveling on my own, it was all about what are people eating and why. That became my thing. So it kind of like full circle of, me growing up with food and the spices and everything. Yeah. Now, in terms of like why I honed in on spices, I felt like our spices in Ghana didn't have a voice. Now it does. Now we have all these social media people, but if you rewind to 2010, 2012, nobody was talking about anything to do with African anything with food. Yeah. I feel like I was in a desert by myself shouting and people were not listening to me, but now everybody's on the bandwagon finally. So thank God.
Yeah, I mean, food is, I think, a unique part of any culture. Yeah. And we just haven't marketed and branded Africa properly yet.
No.
So it's interesting to watch you do what you're doing, because earlier you mentioned how much investment you put in the branding and the packaging. And what is not said often is about how mediocrity is often associated with African brands.
Oh, yeah.
So they don't expect us to go to the highest level. It's like, oh, just print a label and put it on it. Don't give the content, don't give the ingredient, don't do this. So with what you're doing, I'm wondering what's the thing that you're pursuing? Like what are the loftier goals? Like what do you hope to look back 20 years and see Essie Spice's impact across everything else, from the business world to younger people seeing you do it, and even people in the diaspora who go there to typically work, to see you start a business and be this successful? What is your aim, goal, long term?
Long term. I mean, really long term is make African food famous and have its place where it's supposed to be. Like, people need to know everything came from here, everything from math to astrology to, dentition, everything. When we really do the tracing, it all comes back here. So I want us to be known for that. And if my voice can be lended, if somebody 20 years from now said, oh, remember when, Essie Spice started, and, that's when people were talking about African spices, African herbs, African ways of cooking, fermentation, kenke, asana, all of that. That for me would be that I've given back. I've done what I needed to do.
Yep.
So I really, really hope that, just like, as soon as people talk about Indian food, we know like the tikka masalas and all that. When we talk about African food, we should know, gobe, we should know ugali, we should know kontomire and egusi. People should be able to talk about it and identify it and recognize it and see, how far we've come. And if I could lend my voice, I think, that would be.
So what are some of the local spices? When I say local, the Ghanaian spices that you fuse to make Essie Spice?
Yeah, so I use hrintia, which is grains of psyllium. I use rediaba, the West African nutmeg.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I use the esurisa, the black the
Esurisa,
pepper.
yeah.
I use ginger as well from Ghana, and I also use the cayenne, the red chili powder, the dried one. Yeah.
Dope. So these are things that are like so common here.
Yes.
But you have been able to bring it together, mash all together to form one special.
To make it, I put it in the different products. So I have a jollof sauce. Excuse me. I have a jollof sauce called lof. I have a mango chili sauce. I have a tamarind and guava sauce. I have a dry rub, which is like suya. And then I have a cocoa for garlic sauce. So they're in all of them. Yeah.
What changed, right? How are your spices bringing, like, what change are they making in homes? Like, do you get reviews? Do you get comments? Like, what are some of the comments that you hear from your clients?
I'm very grateful that, I think that if I wasn't the first, I was one of the first people to, start making these sauces and spices with our spices and with our ingredients. And because of that, it let people connect back home to a time when they were not connecting or having anything like that on the shelves. I would go to mainstream stores. I'm not talking about African stores. The mainstream stores where everybody would go to, and you would not find anything African, not one. And so when I went to the shops, I'm like, we need to be here also, right? Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons I started Essie Spice. Another reason was because my dad's health at some point in time was declining. And when they looked into it, it was his kidneys, and it got to do with a lot of what he was eating. And so they looked at, what he was eating, and they saw, the salt, the Maggi, the Knorr, all the things.
Charlie.
The artificial, the overprocessed foods, and they told him to cut out all of that, the alcohol, and his kidneys went from performing around 30 to close to 80, 90.
It's
Now
killing
they're
us,
about,
Charlie. Spices,
Yeah.
like these spices, like I don't want to mention names, but some of these spices, killer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you want to mention the name?
I don't know, like the one, the one we all know is
Right. Oh, you mean you didn't want to I got you.
yeah.
Right.
'Cause-
And you can cut it out if you need to.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, a lot of these like bouillons and cubes and all of that, it's not that they're bad. The thing is, the quantities we're using every single day. If you go out today and you go and buy wache once every 2 weeks, I don't think it's gonna be detrimental to your health.
Fair.
But you're eating the wache, then you come home, there's kontomire they've made with the cubes again. In the evening, they've made jollof with the cubes again. Then the next morning, you are making eggs, you add cubes again. Acheke, cubes again. Kenke and fish, cubes again.
Ice
Do you
cube.
understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's people,
Excessive.
you don't understand. And then if you really look at it, my grandmother is 96. She doesn't cook with all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't even tell you the amount of spices she has in her house. She doesn't cook with all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But then my mom's, that's when it started, right? When around my mom's age is when these companies started coming to Ghana and introducing these spices and cubes and everything. So then that's when my mom's age and, the age after that started cooking with these. And it's now entrenched. And it's like, if they don't cook with it, they have not cooked.
Yeah.
So it's not just, people say, oh, MSG is in tomatoes. Yes. But do you know how much you have to, concentrate that MSG to get the level that's in your cube? You probably need like a half a bucket of tomatoes to get that. And you're not eating a half a bucket of tomatoes every single day. You see what I mean? Yes, the colors that they're adding to standardize, because when they're done, they want everything to be this color.
Yeah.
So if they don't get this color,
Don't
they'll
stop
make
putting
it
color.
this color.
Don't stop putting the color.
Exactly.
until-
Don't stop putting
Yeah.
the color till we get this shade, right? Meanwhile, I go to my factory and I say, this is the fresh pepper that I got in the market today.
Use
I
it.
usually I literally go to them, I say, I beg. I don't add colors, so please give me the greenest. Oh, madam, today when we went, some of it is red, some of it is orange. I'm like, I beg you, give me your greenest. So there'll be some batches, it will be very green. Another batch will be like yellowish. Some batches will be even almost reddish, because that's what nature gave me.
Yeah.
But if you want to standardize it with the color, with an additive, with fillers, we're finding out like a lot of the stuff that we're eating is not even the real thing. They're adding flour, there's just so much. So when I saw that was happening to my dad and we switched it and he then got better, I said, this is it. There's no way. So if I'm going to give people something to eat, it's going to be something that I can also eat. And so the highest quality of what I put in my body is what I give to my clients.
So you're saying that if I buy a can of your spice, everything in there is real.
Everything is real.
What's the shelf life?
18 months to 24 months.
Okay, yeah.
So that's the thing. And another thing that people need to think about, if you buy something which is food, which is supposed to be natural, and it doesn't expire for 10 years, it can sit and not go bad for 10 years. What is that doing in your body?
Yeah.
If excuse me to say, if you die now, you'll start rotting now. So if something is going to be in your body that you're ingesting for your health, for your nutrition, for whatever, and it's not gonna go bad for 5, 6, 7 years. My product, unopened, is 18 months. the minute you open it, it starts to go bad. You have to put it in the fridge. Because I don't put anything in it to increase the shelf. Does it cost me more? Yes. It would be better for me to put something that will make it last so that, I make more money off you, but no.
Yeah. Fred?
I'm trying to figure out if you've ever thought about maybe the restaurant business and having, if you're going to be an ambassador, which is what you are for us now. You mentioned some of the tikka masalas. Everybody knows wonton soup. Every region,
pho, Vietnamese pho, and all that. Yeah.
So every region is they have something that represents culturally, and it makes them more endearing to people.
Right.
I guess it's a two-part question. Have you ever thought about restaurant business? But what dish do you also think is that unique bridge for us to the rest of the world, where everybody can just ease into it and then?
Yeah. Restaurants. I'm sure those of you that know me know I'm somebody that doesn't like to stay in one place. There's a German word called Fernweh, which is you don't feel at home anywhere, but also you always feel like you need to go somewhere. A restaurant business will not work with a personality like that. With a restaurant, you need to, at least for a good amount of time, you need to be there to watch it flourish, establish, all of that. And I like my freedom. I like to be able to get the work done and go. So I'm a very hardworking person, but I don't want to be in one spot for too long. So a restaurant, for me, I don't see it in the future, but I never say never. It can happen. And then the food that I think is the bridge, I'm sure you will all agree, is jollof, which is the thing that everybody is so excited about, West Africa, which is why I created my love sauce. So it was like a thing where I wanted people to be able to make their own jollof at home if they've never made jollof. But I also made the sauce in such a way that if you don't want to make jollof, you can make lasagna with it, you can make pasta, you can make stews. So when you're making okra stew or, garden next to you, do a little bit of a tomato base, so you can use that as a base as well. So that was my bridge.
Since you chose jollof,
right,
and since you've been cooking from age 6, what's the best way to make jollof? Do you have tips that you can share?
I think what I like to do that really kicks my jollof off is, if you're using meat, and I'm sorry to the vegans, but if you're using your meat, brown the meat. When you brown the meat, you get a lot of good flavor with the meat. So don't just put the meat, boil it with hot water and just steam it. And then, when you brown the meat with the oil and a bit of seasoning, so some rosemary, some thyme, or Essie Spice, you can, brown the meat, get that caramelization around it. There's this chemical reaction that happens. So it reduces all the sugars on the meat into the oil, and then you add the water. So you've now taken that sugar, which would have been locked into the meat, now you've brought it out. And so that will give that extra kick. And then reduce the heat. Put the rice in the sauce and leave it. Cover it. Leave it. The stirring and just let the steam. And as much as possible, I know it's difficult to calculate the ratio of the water and the rice, but when you get that right, just allow it, let it steam on very low heat, and you're good to go.
Fred, you here?
Yeah.
So,
how long you?
But you cook? Do you cook?
I'm a good cook when I decide to be. The last time I cooked was I cooked for myself, I think, back in the States. But Essie, what spice in your lineup would you say would you recommend for I got hot sauce in my bag? You know that thing where Like, which one is like the
That.
go-to? Like, I gotta use it. It
Mango
has to-
chili.
Mango chili.
We can't get your sauce here.
No, none of them are.
Okay.
I had a couple of stores that were selling it, but you know when the dollar goes up, people don't want to buy, which is fair. But we're working on it. We're looking for a new retailer.
Who is in your team?
I have someone that does socials, and then I have someone for operations and marketing. It's a very small team, and that's mostly because the actual production of the product is done by a contractor, an outside company. So I don't own them.
Yeah,
I just contract to them, and then they finish it. Same with my fulfillment. I also don't own it. So once we produce, it's packaged, it's bottled, packed. We send everything there. Fred orders on s06.com. They take the boxes, they put it on, they ship it out. So I'm not involved at all.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's clean.
so you don't need the
Yeah,
overhead.
yeah,
You just pay them for the work that they've done. Yeah.
Cool. We might come back to spice,
Okay.
but
The socials.
you are spicy.
I am.
You know that, right? You are
Hot.
you are spicy.
I'm
I'm anti-spicy. My niece doesn't even know my name.
Yeah.
She calls me anti-spicy. Yeah,
Oh wow,
yeah.
You are very social, and you've mentioned it a couple of times during this convo. How you travel, you know, and all that. Why, like, fun is a thing for you? Why?
I think if I look back, it really goes back to me and my dad. It really does. Because growing up, I would literally, on Saturdays and Sundays, I would watch Nat Geo, Discovery Channel, Travel Channel with my dad. And we would always be like, oh my God, where is that? Oh, it's in Nepal. Oh, where is that? Oh, it's in Peru. You know, it was always a thing. And so when we would travel to London, it would be like another experience. And then when I started college, I was like, okay, I'm going to America. So it was like the travel thing started. And then when it really got worse was when I studied in France.
Oh wow, I didn't know this.
I did. I studied in France for a semester. And while we were there, the school allowed us to they had like plans for every weekend. Every single weekend there was something. So either we're going to another country or another city. So when I came back from that, it was like, what am I doing this weekend? You know? And it's like, wait, because if I was back in Cannes, you know, we would do, you know, Pisa today or Florence tomorrow or London the next day or Rome. So when I got back, it was like, now I'm feeling very like, I need to plan something. And so then I started, you know, recruiting my members. Like, who's coming with me? And I've been so fortunate. You know how people complain that, oh, you know, I don't have anybody. I literally just have to say it. And they're all ready to go.
Why? Is it because you are? Is it because you are fun? Like, is it because they?
I've been told. I've
you're
been
fun?
told that I'm very fun.
Oh, okay.
I've been told that I've been told that I'm fun to be around. I don't know. I guess they love to travel with me as well, just as much as I do.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have any principle, like mantra, right? That you live by, that you go by, that you want to share with us?
I think I have a few, but I think more than anything, integrity is very, very important to me. Be who you say you are, and just being authentic. I think a lot of times people, like you said, like, is it because I'm fun? I've sometimes been shocked at people that have come up to me and want to just be good to me, not just even talk to me, but just be good to me. And it shocked me because I don't know these people. I've never met them. You know, we don't even have anybody in common, but they just come and they support me. And this is not a self-righteous thing. I'm just saying, like, people, I think, can suss you and know, like, if what you have is the real deal. And when they come, they realize that there's no, what they see is what is there. Like I'm giving it to you as is. And so if you can be that person as much as possible, for me, it's worked for me. Just be yourself. And
How I mean, there's a business, and I know that things don't go as planned every single time. You know, I know that you face some blocks, you know, along the way and all that.
Many.
What are some, and how do you deal with them?
Oh my God, where do I start? From factories not wanting to do my production, to canceling on me just before Christmas when they know it's like my busiest season, to delivery drivers destroying $17,000 worth of product.
How?
Yeah. I mean, these are some of the things that a lot of people don't talk about. I've been trying to talk about them, you know, but you know, there's a lot to do as a business owner. And so you want to be a social media person, but you also have actual work. You have meetings with, you know, warehouses, you have meetings with this. So it's like balancing that, but also doing my best to tell the stories, because nobody told the stories when I started. So I didn't know like some of the things, like what it means to work with a store like Target. You know, people don't know what it means to have, you know, enough inventory to supply 200, 300 stores at once. You know, having enough cash flow to be able to, when they say, is it ready? Ship within this 2-week period. You know, it's cute to say. It's kind of like saying, oh, I'm married. Yeah, that's nice. But what does it mean to be married?
Yeah.
What does it mean for your husband to be sick and vomiting, or he lost his job? You know, that part is what. But then at the end of the day, I'm Mrs. Sapon, or whatever it is, you know.
So sorry, Mrs. Sapon.
Sorry to Mrs. Sapon. You know, people don't talk about that other stuff. And it would be nice for people to talk about, you know, what it means to raise money when you don't have any money, you know, emptying my 401k, using all my savings, you know, borrowing from family, my friends putting my production on their credit cards and me paying them after. You know, these are the things people don't talk about. They assume everything is great, but it's because we don't talk about it. So then that's the perception.
Yeah, I mean, I've been big on talking about the things that you just run through, because especially on our side of the world, I think competency is never highlighted. It's typically the successful business person says, oh, it's Nyamiu.
Nyame na ye.
Is God.
And
Look,
let me, yes, I kid you not, a lot of not everything that I am, God. I can't even begin, because there have been some days where I was like, there is no way I am getting out of this. And when I tell you the way God moved and how people rejected me, there was this one guy. Let me just give this little anecdote.
Preach.
This one guy who I would see at events, and people it's kind of like me and you, how we know each other. We've been introduced a couple of times. But he'll see me at events with people and act like
he doesn't know you.
He doesn't know me. And I was like, so after like a couple of times, because me, I'm not that person. People do that a lot, that Ghana thing. When they see you, I'm like, hi. And then, you know, I get so after like the first 2 times, I got the message and then I stopped. The lady that I told you introduced me to the editors. She's a very powerful woman. And she knows everybody. I mean, she's been on Oprah, so she knows everybody. And this woman loves me. Somebody I've never met, again, when I tell you the power of grace on my life, right? So she invites me and she throws a whole dinner to celebrate me.
Oh, wow.
A whole, it doesn't even make sense. Paid for by her and everything. Oh, this is somebody that does not know me. Pays for dinner, invites this guy. And he comes, and come and see him. And
You're hilarious.
and I had told Clementine about it. I said, Clementine, this is why. She's like, don't worry. And I'm just looking at him because he comes with his wife. Because I don't think he even knew who was being honored at the dinner.
Yeah.
And I'm just watching him as he's just going. I said, oh, hi, how are you? Did this thing. And then after that, it's not important to me because I don't get my validation from that.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time with anything, money, fame, business, all of that. Me, if I can get the money without even showing my face, I really would like that.
Yeah.
But in 2024, everybody wants to know who's behind the brand. So unfortunately, I can't hide. But one thing I always say is always know who you are and be firm in that because you can be here today and down tomorrow. I've had the highest of highs. I've had Food Network talk about me. Everybody that can talk about you as a food brand has praised me. And I've also had somebody try my food and spit it out right in front of me. And so if your temperament or how you conduct yourself is based on what's on the external as opposed to you, then you're always going to be up waiting for somebody to validate you. I don't care. I really don't care. I know who I am, and I know the work that I've done, and I know the work would outlive me.
Where I was going with that competency question is, I think you've highlighted it enough, so let me even just pivot to a different question. You mentioned some of the challenges that you faced, losing goods and stuff, but in reading some of your previous interviews, you had mentioned how you had been disappointed by suppliers, by governments. And then I stopped at governments, and I'm like, what the hell? Why would a government disappoint you when it comes to spice? And so I wanted to explore that further and find out where you were.
Not really with spice, but it's like, there's a lot of red tape in getting things approved and getting things done. And so, when I moved to the US, I had that Ghana mentality of, if I just do it this way, it doesn't work like that. You can't just no. One of the reasons why, when I got into Whole Foods, it was because I had then lost my job, and then I had the time to be able to have the meetings, because a lady who was in Harlem said, Harlem Whole Foods is about to open. They're asking for all the producers that are making their products in Harlem. So would you like to come and bring your product?
Yeah.
When I got there, there were like 30 people there. And they looked at all our products. My product and I think 2 other people out of the 30 were the only ones that were ready to be on a shelf. But I had done my research. So I went to Whole Foods. I saw the things that were on the shelf. I said, I want my products to be there. So what's there? Took that product and said, okay, they have a barcode. They have this, they have that. So I reverse engineered and did that. But before that, I was trying to just do things my own way. So I wasn't passing any FDA requirements. So if you have that mentality of, Ghana, you've just made the sauce. That was my mentality. But once I realized what I needed to do to get the certifications and all of that, and I did that, I haven't had any issues since. So
Dope. You made mention of how much you paid at the beginning for photo shoots and for every single thing that your label, your logo and all.
Yeah.
Now that you have solidified your place, are you still spending that much on photo shoots, social media?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Maybe not label. We haven't redone our label, but we just redid our website. That cost me like $2,500, and that's not a website from scratch. That's her just updating things the way I want it to look for the user interface. We wanted it to be easier for the customer when they shop and all of that. Yeah, just that. when we do photos, recipes, and when we ask people to do recipes for us, it costs money if you want it to be done well. So, I mean, you do what, it's kind of like PR. I remember when I got into Time, my cousin said, whoever is doing your PR is doing such a good job. I'm like, Jesus is my PR. I have no PR. But because the PR people, you're gonna pay a PR person $5,000 a month. That's the cheapest I know. The good ones. You're paying them $5,000 a month to go to different
press, like just
press
find,
to beg them to put you on, right? So now the press is they're not going to guarantee them anything, by the way.
Yeah.
They're going to take whatever cut, I don't know, and then say, okay, we'll look at it. Now, if they look at it and they don't like it, you're just wasting the time anyway. So it's like, if you're going to pay all that money, you might as well make it so that when they come, they will like what they see.
Yeah.
But also, if you think about it, this press people, they always want new things. So they are looking anyway. So if you're already good, you don't have to pay them anything. They'll come to you.
Yeah.
I've never paid for PR. Not once.
Guys, Essie Spice in the house.
What's up?
All done.
That was dope. An hour plus, and it's been smooth.
It's gonna sound like flattery, but I think you've always had a strong presence. I'm not surprised by anything that you've accomplished.
Thank you.
And you maintain that same strong presence I've felt about you, that energy, since I've known you. So keep going and keep making us proud and keep shining. Yeah, but it's gonna stick with me that she's a superstar. I've always thought she was a superstar.
Yeah, she is dope.
Yeah.
She's very, very dope. Another episode. We thank you for joining us. It's been dope with Essie Bartels, CEO, founder,
Essie
the
Spice.
boss madam behind Essie Spice. You have to, check her socials. Essie Spice. Yes.
ESSIE and Spice.
And Spice, yeah, Charlie. And I mean, she's quite active there, Check her out and check out this podcast. Tell someone about this podcast.
And support both of us.
Yes, I mean, support Essie Spice, Relevant conversations. Follow us on socials. The F More Let's Divide podcast. Fred.
Yes, sir.
We are through. This was dope. This was dope.
Yeah?
Yeah, breeze.
Yeah, breeze. Yeah, breeze.
You guys like